look at the inequalities, deprivation, the hunger, the starvation we have in this world, a large segment of humanity is malnourished, is hungry. Look at the climate. Mother Earth is heating up due to reckless exploitation of its resources, its assets, which they call it resources. With the anthropocentric view of life that humans are the Lord and Master of the creation, and the whole creation is meant for their enjoyment. In the race for enjoyment, they have devastated the climate, the environment, and now elements are angry. They are visiting, they are showing their wrath time to time. These are curtain raisers. If you look at the technologies, now the latest advancement in technology, they are trying or they are asserting to deny the very existence of human agency. They say machine will replace the humans not for doing the work, but even as humans themselves. They will be thinking, they will have consciousness, they will be super intelligent, far more efficient. The very definition of human being, the meaning of human being, is being questioned, and questioned with arrogance, so-called scientific arrogance. This advancement are further increasing the asymmetry in wealth and power. This unstable world, where is it heading? Is it sustainable? I don't think so. Then, what is the way forward? At individual level, there have been people who have been pursuing the truth, the realization that we are all part of the larger whole. We are one and the same. We are like leaves, million leaves on a tree. Each leaf look different, but out of the tree it has no existence. We are all integrally one. This realization is being pursued at the individual level. This incremental work in progress of realization of truth, is it enough? Is it going to save the world from the looming disaster? I think it has to be expanded. It has to be expanded. The spirit of Theosophy has to be expanded from individual to the collectives. And when I say collectives could be at the social level, at the family level, society level, or at the governance level. Governance level because it is more impactful. Can governance be carried on with the spirit of Theosophy? In our country, India, we have been conducting an experiment for the last 1 decade to bring that spirit in governance. And I would like to explain how it is being implemented. You know, governance by and large across the world has been following a model which had its intellectual and theoretical basis in what Jeremy Bentham had said, greatest good for the greatest number. The greatest good for the greatest number, the model of governance, it does not cater for all. There are people, there are segments who are left out. We have shifted, we are trying to shift from that model to all-inclusive governance. Don't leave anyone. Don't leave anyone how? Let me explain. Every citizen of this country must have access to the basic ingredients that would qualify that person to be called human. Food, health, education, home, access to drinking water, potable drinking water, electricity in every home, cooking gas in every home, toilet in every home. Basics. Without any discrimination, every citizen must have all these basic ingredients. And this, our country has been able to achieve. Till about a decade ago, we had the dubious distinction of a country with almost 60% people going for open defecation. Many people had taken it as a cultural issue. But open defecation is not only linked with dignity and hygiene, but also with safety and security. Because the women folk had to wait till the sun downs to go out, and every time there was a threat lurking, threat safety. Within less than half decade, this country is now open defecation free. We have been able to ensure that through the model of governance, that all-inclusive governance, every home, every house must have a toilet. Every home must have electricity, almost saturation level. Every home must have potable drinking water. Every home must have cooking gas. The basics. Next, in our earlier model of development, model of governance, there were areas, even geographic areas, where people were left out. We had a hugely unequal situation, so much so that even in states which were relatively advanced, there were large pockets of deprivation. In our own state, which is one among the relatively advanced states of this country, we had several pockets of deprivation, of poverty, malnutrition. So, at the country level, to make this inclusive, that no one should be left out, identified all those districts which were relatively behind at different level, different degrees of backwardness. We identified nearly 120 districts. And in about a decade time, I am happy to share with you that many of them have come at par. Most of them have come at par with special measures taken with their advanced districts in that state, and some of them have even overtaken them. But that's not enough. We go down to the granular level, because district alone is a very large entity. There within the district we have small areas, blocks and panchayats, where you have deprivation, where you have poverty. Now we have from aspirational district to aspirational blocks, aspirational panchayats. All inclusive model of governance. from greatest good to the greatest number to all inclusive. This is not all. In our competitive electoral politics, smaller groups, smaller numbers are left out. For example, in my country, in our country, we have some tribal communities. We have a large tribal community, but among them, there is a set of people who are called particularly vulnerable tribal groups. They're just about less than 4 million, scattered all over this huge country. Now imagine a country of 1400 million, 3 to 4 million is dispensable in terms of electoral politics. But no, this is not. And all-inclusive governance means they also must be included. And so, special programs for targeted to pull them up. A few months back, I was in Javadu Hills. Javadu Hills is home in this estate. Is a home to some such particularly vulnerable tribal groups who are way behind. And I had the fortune to be part of the drive over a couple of days to enable them, each one of them, each household, to have the basic documents that would enable them to have the benefits and to be at par with others, like opening the bank accounts, having the Ayushman Bharat card for the health insurance, tribal identity cards, having Aadhars so that direct benefit could be transferred to them without middleman eating away the money. This creation of the digital public infrastructure and the trinity of JAM, Jandhan, Aadhar and Mobile has revolutionized the model of governance in this country, all-inclusive model of governance. When it comes to development, mostly we have been following across the world the GDP-centric model of development. Which countries? The country is developed if it is GDP is so many trillions. But we know that a very high GDP, the countries with very, very high GDP also have people who are homeless, people who have no access to medical care. We know their positions. It is not a fair and a humane way of development. So from the GDP-centric development to human-centric development. Human-centric development. Don't measure the GDP. Don't go by that. See whether every individual, every human being is rising to prosperity. And for that, taking measures to ensure that instead of the large industries should come, but large industries coming, it also inevitably it leads to inequality, to unequal distribution of wealth, greater thrust on MSME, micro, small and medium. And how do you do that? By making the people from the state-centric drive to people-centric drive. It creates a situation whereby the people, the individuals in the society becomes able to show his or her enterprise and prosper. Let me illustrate a case of my own state, Tamil Nadu. In our state, more than 1,50,00,000 people, more than 15 million people have taken Mudra loan. That means collateral-free bank loan up to 10 lakhs rupees. They don't have to bother about collateral security because everyone doesn't have. The poor people don't have something to offer to the banks. Collateral-free. I have visited the districts, the remote areas, the villages. The women folk have taken a small amount, 1,50,00,000. They've taken loan set up a tea shop, tea snack selling. That family is earning with dignity. Someone has bought some stitching, tailoring machines, tailoring clothes, selling it, earning with dignity. Someone buys some milking cattle, cows, part of the dairy movement, improvement. This micro-revolution, revolution at the micro level. It is these which leads to the fair and equitable distribution of wealth, ensuring the people who have been left far behind to live with dignity. And it is this class of people, the involvement of the large number of our people, those who were out, that today India is the fastest growing large economy in the world. The model of governance, the model of development, human-centric development, not. Again, not consumption-driven economy. Reckless consumption, we know it has destroyed this. Today, the situation we have reached to a stage where you buy a gadget, I would not like to name them. By the next year, the next model comes and there is no scope for you to get it repaired. You have to throw it. Is it sustainable? It is not. Reckless consumption-driven economy or development is not sustainable. It is creating crisis. The development model has to be sustainable. Economy has to be circular. You can't be producing waste. Friends, this model of economy and growth, where we don't rely on reckless consumption, but rather in a sustainable consumption in which production is through the enterprise of the people. You know, in COVID-19, when the COVID has struck the whole world, a whole bunch of economists within the country and outside, they all advise the government, pump money, print notes and distribute, raise the consumptions. Let the people start consuming, production will start and economy will boom. No, we didn't agree to that. We don't believe in consumption, reckless consumption-driven economy because this is not sustainable. We did not. Perhaps this country, India, was the only country which has stood and did not pump unnecessary money by printing notes to boost consumption. Instead, we created the infrastructure and enabled the people through various facilities by which they could have access to capital and show the enterprise. And it is because of that India is the fastest growing large economy in the world today. Whereas those consumption-driven economies, they struggled for long to come out of recession, causing so much miseries to the people. This human-centric governance, sustainable consumption-driven economy, circular economy, avoiding the waste, and adopting a lifestyle which is sustainable lifestyle which is necessary for a sustainable environment. All these you will see in yourself when I am speaking. This is all inspired by the spirit of Theosophy, the well-being of the people, well-being of the last man. Not only that, we know that every human being, we all have element of goodness, we all have element which is not good, which is bad. The good and bad, the evil and the good, it all resides in our heart. how to unleash the goodness, the positive spirit in the people. We have to collectively build it. We have to collectively ensure that the people, the positive force in the people is unleashed and you harness that. When it comes to the positive force, and all of us, we are the mix of the two. Let me tell you a folk tale. A folk tale in some variations I have heard among the tribal indigenous people of my own country in the Northeast. But what I read, which was more precise, more expressive, was a folk tale of Cherokee tribes, indigenous people of the United States of America. Among the Cherokees, there is a folk tale that the tribal chief's granddaughter, she had disturbed sleep for a couple of nights. She was not able to sleep because whenever she slept, she found two wolves growling, howling, with bare fangs, fighting, bleeding each other. She went and asked her mom, "Why is it that I am not able to sleep? It is so nightmarish." Her mom said, "Go and ask your grandpa, the wise old man. He would give you the answer." She went and asked the grandpa, I'm not able to sleep because every night for last couple of nights, I am not able to sleep because in the sleep I see this fight. What is this? And the wise old man said, "These two wolves are in each one of us, the good and the bad, and they are in constant battle." And then she asked, the little girl asked, "But who will win?" And then the wise old man said, "The one you feed. If you feed the good one will win. If you feed the bad one will prevail." That is the story. It is all of us, within all of us. So the question is how? How to build, how to raise the feed, the goodness in every heart. For that also, the model of governance that we are following is involve the people, encourage the goodness in every aspect. Take the case, everyone who does something good, if the person does something good to others, there is a sense of satisfaction. We launched a campaign, which is ongoing, to eradicate TB, tuberculosis, from this country. But we didn't keep it as only a government drive. We said a patient of tuberculosis also needs nutrition and all, which needs sustained nutrition because the treatment lasts for over a year. The government can give the medicine. What about nutrition? Sustained nutrition. Can people participate? So it was opened. Let people volunteer and adopt patients. And millions of people became a Nikshar Mitra, that is the friends of those people, and they are the ones who are sustaining it. This positive force. When cooking gas issue came and there was subsidy, it was said, people, if you can afford to give away your subsidy for the good of somebody else, because if you give up, somebody else, the needy, would get it. Millions of people gave up their subsidy. Millions. And that helped millions other homes where there was no cooking gas to provide. This goodness, by involving the people. Until recently, till about a decade, in every recognition of the government, we had various awards, Padma Awards, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan. It used to be people who were celebrated. No longer. It is the bare feet, women in the remote area of the forest, planting the trees, taking care of the trees. The man poor guy who has been disposing the unclaimed bodies, doing the final rites. People, there are numerous, countless unsung heroes in our society. We need to appreciate. In fact, when I came, I launched this scheme here. Annual award for doing excellent social service, individual and entities, both category. Social service and environment protection. I was amazed to see the large number of people, those who have been doing it silently. There is so much positive force. Build up, recognize, appreciate, encourage. Let them be celebrated. It encourages others. Build this, unleash the latent positive energy in the people and harness it. Prosperity comes, happiness comes. Even in our international relations, we pursue a policy which is imbued with the policy, or rather the esprit, not policy, but esprit of Theosophy. Our tagline is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is a family. One world, one earth, one family, one future. One earth, one family, one future. That is the tagline, that is the philosophy that governs India's foreign relations. And that we have been trying to walk the talk. Take the case of COVID. When the COVID has struck, and nobody knew when this unknown beast would go. When some countries, advanced countries, made the vaccines, vaccine nationalism began. Many of them, they looked at it as an opportunity to make money, raising the price. They started hoarding vaccines more than they needed. But this country, when our scientists made the vaccines, even before we had reached the saturation, even before our people were all vaccinated, we have started sharing the vaccine with the rest of the world, over 150 countries of the world, because we believe that the world is a family. Last year, when we had G20 presidency, we said, is it inclusive? How could a large African continent be out of it? We made it inclusive. African Union became part of it. World has to be inclusive, equitable. Only then it will be sustainable. Even in conflict. Earlier, we used to say we are non-aligned. When the two countries are fighting, we'll say, no, we are not with you, we are not with you. Now, indifference, aloofness is not a response, a desired response, a desirable response. We cannot. We are all integrally connected. If there is a distress somewhere, we cannot say that, no, I have nothing to do with you. Today we say, we have our policies, resolute rejection of violence as a means of conflict resolution. We don't agree at all. And we are equally disposed to all the parties, telling them firmly, looking into their eyes, no, what you are doing is wrong, rather than turning our face away as if the problem doesn't exist. We tell them, no, this is not. What you are doing is not right. And result is, the countries are also building a trust in this country, that yes, you can perhaps play a role to bring the peace. What I'm all trying to say is, imbuing the governance with the spirit of Theosophy is the need of the hour. If this world has to survive, and it must survive, if the human spirit, which is inexhaustible, if it has to assert, we have to take this beyond the individual to the collectives. And the experiment that we have begun in this country, a country which hosts about 20% of the world population, 1/5 of the world population. If this experiment succeeds, and so far it has been succeeding, perhaps it will be for the others to emulate, to follow. We have provided the alternative, where with due regard and due respect to the dignity of human spirit, we are working towards all-inclusive, equitable form of governance in society. That is what I meant when I suggested that theosophic governance is the future of the mankind. That's the way that there will be a sustainable world, where the climate will be preserved. Climate will know the environment, the nature will no longer be viewed as a resource for us to exploit it. But we are integrally connected, harmoniously, in balance, where we don't leave anyone left out because that person is poor or weak. Compassion is what makes us human. And this compassion has to reflect in the actions of the collectives. Every individual may not be able to achieve that or reach the level of evolution in the march of consciousness. But collectively we can create that environment where goodness prevails, where the people are not condemned to live a subhuman life. They are able to live with dignity, where they are able to assert themselves, the goodness in them, with pride. That is our future, sustainable future. Friends, thank you very much for patient listening. Thank you once again, Tim, for giving me this honor. Thank you very much.
Now we have come to the end of a very inspiring, enlightening, and meaningful, pleasant event. I consider it my privilege and pleasure to propose words of thanks I consider it my privilege and pleasure to propose words of thanks to the chief guest on behalf of all the delegates of this 149th International Theosophical Convention. I convey our heartiest thanks and deep gratitude to the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu, Thiru R.N. Ravi, for his erudite lecture. What he said is practical theosophy, but it seems he knows much more than we know. He is, as it is evident from his speech, he has profound knowledge of theosophy, spirituality, philosophy, politics, even of Sanskrit. He is a man of wisdom, widely read, and has intellectual sharpness. His scholarly speech on theosophic governance, sustainable future for mankind, will leave behind indelible memories in all our minds. We are extremely happy and grateful to him for sparing some time despite his busy schedule. I would also like to convey our sincere thanks to International President Tim Boyd for his guidance. He has always been an inspiration for all Theosophists as he tirelessly moves around the world explaining the tenets of Theosophy. Our thanks are also due to the distinguished delegates, brothers and sisters, for their kind presence. Now I would request President Tim to present some books on Theosophy authored by Annie Besant as a token of remembrance to the Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu. Thank you. Thank you all.
Please rise for the national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तव जय गाता जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय